Good day and welcome back to the Vitality Project. I'm Dr. Bob and I want to welcome you. Thanks for joining me. In our most recent post here, we introduced a second variation on what we've been talking about for the last few posts, which is mind-body mapping, where we begin to notice the connection between our mental state and how we're doing in our bodies and how the one affects the other. If you'll remember our first exercise, 2 posts ago, our first exercise focused on you're calling up a high-risk situation in your life, something that throws you out of the saddle into distress. And we had you map out any related feelings or impulses to act that attach to that particular red alert brain mode. Our second variation, which was in our last post, asked you to do the same thing, go back in, take a look at the high-risk situation, except this time we asked you to interject a brief 5-minute mindfulness exercise right in the middle of this very same process. And so I'm curious, what did you discover? What we're reviewing here is something that we keep touching on again and again and reinforcing it, because it's what we can do to build coping skills or recovery resilience skills is what we're calling them more recently. We're reviewing the difference between 2 different modes of coping with high-risk situations in our lives. The first mode we're calling red alert brain. That's guided by the emotional reactivity of our midbrain, right between our ears. And our first mapping exercise, 2 posts ago, it focused on capturing this mode in real time. We wanted to see if we could actually get some of that red alert brain activated. And then in our most recent post, we introduced this mindfulness exercise. It was intended in just 5 minutes to help reduce the stranglehold of the red alert brain, and in its place to make room for a second primary mode of coping. And this is gold for us in terms of resilience, and we're calling it resting brain. And this is where we move the energy of the mind and the body and the brain from the midbrain to the forebrain, to the executive center of the brain, and that with practice, we can actually develop this. So we asked you, first of all, just look at the difference between these 2 different modes and notice how they affect us when it comes to responding to high-risk situations. For today, as we wrap up this current section on navigating through high-risk situations, I want you to go back. I want you to go back and compare your notes about these 2 experiences with each kind of mapping that we've just done. So in the first exercise, remember, we mapped the red alert brain in all its glory. And chances are when we did this exercise, you experienced a cluttered mind, a stressed out body, various unpleasant emotional states, and probably some version of either panic, that's the fight or flight mode, or maybe even sometimes complete shutdown, which would be the freeze mode. And then I want you to compare that with the second mapping exercise, where we included mindfulness. And the goal here was to see if we could increase the probability of you experiencing calmness in your mind and your body, less unpleasant feeling states, and less risk for acting out impulsive behaviors. Now, scientific researchers have found, and it's quite impressive, that with practice, you can actually build these resilience-directed resources. And that's the pearl of great price here. Recovering from any kind of enslavement, whether it's enslavement to a drug or to a relationship in an unhealthy way or some other behavior or even an attitude, that we can actually develop resilience skills in our lives, skills that will help us to bounce up from stress, to bounce back from adversity, including high-risk situations. Wouldn't you be interested in cultivating these? I sure am, and I hope you are too. I really appreciate you joining me here at your Vitality Project to look at these skills. The proof of the pudding is in the tasting, and we need to practice these skills to develop capacity for them on a daily basis. But it's doable, and researchers indicate that even in a few weeks, you can develop these kinds of resilience muscles, let's call them, that can really serve you. And I encourage you to that, and I'm going to get myself going on these today too, okay? So good luck with these exercises. I wish you well. Come back and join us again soon here at your Vitality Project. Thanks so much and take good care.